New Year's, man. Excited to be back on the pod. And, man, dude, these games were great. Can't wait to break them down.
Yeah, we're going to break them all down. And that's right. The Detroit Lions host the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. It's the last week of the regular season in the NFL. Since they've moved to 18 games, the last week of the season is a flex week. So nobody really knows at what time they're going to be playing on Sunday. And as it's set up last week, the Vikings and the Lions both won, which means the winner of the Vikings and Lions gets the number 1 overall seed in the NFC, which comes with a bye week and home field advantage in the playoffs, as well as an NFC North Division Championship. So that's 8:20 Sunday night on NBC. We're all Lions fans here on the Punt and Pass podcast. We're fired up to tune into that one. It's been a hell of a season and a ton of fun. So if you're a Falcons fan, if the Falcons win and the Bucs lose to the lowly Saints, the Falcons win the NFC South, and then they get to host a home playoff game, which is crazy to think about. So, yeah, we've got tons of college football still left to be played. And, of course, the NFL playoffs are right around the corner, which leads me right to our presenting sponsor of this episode of Punt and Pass and every Thursday episode of Punt and Pass. It's our best friends over at Prize Picks. Have you been on the Prize Picks app in 2025? It's incredible. They're giving out free $25 plays. They're giving you free 25% boosts. Today's a Friday. It's a Flex Friday. It's the best. It's the only daily fantasy sports platform you should be on in this great country of ours. And to make it even sweeter, if you haven't signed up yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Use the promo code PUNT. You get an instant $50 in your account when you play your first $5 entry, win or lose. And it's very easy to play. You just pick between 2 to 6 players. You can do cross-sport entries, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, PGA Tours back. They're in Kapalua, Maui this week. So you can go any sport you want. They even got darts on Prize Picks now. Pick 2 to 6 players, predict they go more or less in their stat projections, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. Prize Picks is simply the best. Again, tell a family member, tell a friend, use the promo code PUNT when you play your first $5 entry. You instantly get $50 in your account, win or lose. And as I said, go into your Prize Picks account right now. There is a free $25 play for you right there. I believe it's good until January the 6th. So have a fun weekend. Tell people to sign up for Prize Picks using the promo code PUNT. Okay, so the quarterfinal games are complete. Penn State kicked off the action. They beat up on Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. They're in. What was the game of the quarterfinals, the Peach Bowl? Texas takes down, I guess you could say, Arizona State in double overtime. An incredible game. We'll touch on that in a bit. The Rose Bowl, which usually brings the drama, left a lot to be desired. Ohio State continues their dominant role. They whip up on Oregon 41-21. And then, of course, the Sugar Bowl was postponed due to the tragic terrorist attack that took place early on New Year's Day in New Orleans. Jake, what a scary scene. I mean, I had friends down there working the game. Obviously, you and I know plenty of people around the Georgia football program, Georgia fans, Georgia alumni who are in New Orleans celebrating New Year's Eve. Shit, man, that was tragic. It was scary. 15 people killed. Some psychopath terrorist running his truck through Bourbon Street, running over people. Just my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody. I saw one of the people who passed away was the brother of Tiger Beck was his name, Jack Beck, leading receiver at TCU. His younger brother passed away.
Gosh.
So tragic. I work for Odyssey here in Atlanta on 92 on the Game, one of Odyssey's employees in New Orleans. A guy I know who goes to Alabama, one of his younger frat brothers. I mean, this hit really close to home, man. Super, super tragic. I think they did the right thing by postponing the game. And obviously they did right by the victims in the entire tragedy yesterday before kickoff.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. I mean, it just absolutely terrible, tragic, just senseless. There's just no point in it at all whatsoever. I mean, apparently, man, it could have been so much worse. Apparently, there was explosives there as well. I had one of my best friends in the entire world. They're down there, and I mean, they go into their hotel room 30 minutes before the tragedy happened, and he almost went back outside to get something to eat in front of apparently the crystals of where it happened. So
right there where he turned. Yeah, man, of course.
Yeah. So, my buddy was telling me the guy turned and just trying to pick up speed. And one of the kind of like rental lights, one of the big lights that you would rent to kind of light up Bourbon Street. Apparently
Stop.
that's
Yeah.
kind of what stopped him. So,
Wow.
man,
Wow.
crazy, tragic, absolutely, man. But man, it could have been worse.
Oh, could have been
Just
just,
man, just terrible.
absolutely terrible. I mean, I woke up New Year's Day, I smoked a pork butt overnight. So, like I just chilled at the house. I mean, we did a little family thing. I'm up at like 7:30 in the morning, turn on the news. It's the first thing on the news. I mean, it was crazy. I was texting people, "Are you okay?" I mean, that was just really, really tragic. So our thoughts and prayers again go out
Absolutely.
to everybody. So news broke around New Year's Day, right before, kind of during the Texas Arizona State Peach Bowl, that they were in fact going to postpone the Sugar Bowl one day. Initially, it was set to be that same 8 p.m., 8:45 p.m. Eastern kickoff. I think both coaches kind of asked politely to the college football playoff, "Hey, can we move this up to the afternoon?" Penn State already had a day on us because they played, what was that, Monday night, Tuesday night. Yeah, and then they didn't want to play late, go into 1 a.m., all that stuff.
For
I think the
sure.
college football playoff did right by them and said, "Yeah, let's move it up to afternoon. So if you do win the game, you can get back home." So the game kicked off at 4 p.m. Eastern in New Orleans. And it was an interesting game. So let's dive right into it. Georgia
Yep.
loses to Notre Dame 23-10. Notre Dame dominated the lines of scrimmage. I thought the game plan, Jake, with Gunnar Stockton making his first ever start at quarterback for Georgia, would be run the ball and don't turn the ball over. Georgia couldn't run the ball, and Georgia started turning the ball over. They made some crucial mistakes in the red zone. They, of course, allowed for the second half kickoff to be returned for a touchdown, which culminated in 17 points being scored in 54 seconds of game clock, Jake. Clearly the difference of the game. So hard to come back from a set of events like that, especially when you are against an evenly matched opponent like Notre Dame was with Georgia. Where do you want to start? Slow start for the offense. Offensive line was getting their tails whooped all game. You got to give a ton of credit to Notre Dame's defense. Dude, they had 8 in the box early. They were playing violent. They were getting downhill. They were daring Gunnar Stockton to beat them with his arm.
Yeah, I'm going to start with on the Notre Dame side of things. Give them their flowers. I think they came in confident. They came in ready to roll. I mean, they have dudes. They got players. They're very well coached, and they kind of just played their football.
Yeah.
They didn't beat themselves up. They just kind of let the game happen. They played physical, and something that we're not used to seeing. I mean, Georgia kind of in a way beat themselves. They made some mistakes. If you kind of look at just a quick stat sheet, Georgia threw for more yards, had more total yards. They didn't do the little things right. And it's been a while since we've seen a game like that. And I think that happened. And I also think it was almost completely unrelated to who was playing quarterback for them. I think Gunnar did a fantastic job, man. He kind of he went out there and he was relentless. He was throwing the ball and he was spinning it. And I think he was making great throws. I think he was making good decisions. And
it definitely wasn't too big for him at all.
No, man, you can't fault him at all for anything for the loss. And I think what they asked him to do, man, he went and he executed it. Obviously, they definitely wish the run game could have helped him a lot more. But man, they got put in a bind. Hey, we're behind. We need to throw it to win. And I think he did well enough to give them a chance later in the game. But like you said, man, there were 17 points scored in 50 something seconds, and all of a sudden, man,
crazy.
This is getting out of hand. And they just kept making the critical errors throughout the game against a good team. You just cannot overcome such a huge hill. And that's why they lost the game.
Yeah, it's exactly why they lost the game. The critical errors, so frustrating for Georgia fans, especially with how good the defense was playing. I mean, you could the defense only allowed 3 points in the second half because the opening kickoff happened in the second half. And then, of course, Notre Dame was only able to get a field goal to add on to that. They held Notre Dame's offense to just 2 field goals in the first half, a timely and untimely, costly turnover right before halftime. Notre Dame scores on a short field. The very next play, they go into halftime up 13-3. And that was the first 10 points. It was 10 points in 11 seconds, I believe, is what the first was. And then, of course, the end of the second half happened, which was like 30 seconds. Yep. So that's 44 seconds. And then they ran the kickoff back to open the second half, which lasted
Crazy.
10 seconds or so. A lot of people are asking why didn't Peyton Woodring kick that out of the back of the end zone? He's automatic. Guess what? He just got under it, right? I mean, clearly the intention was to have him kick it out of the back of the end zone. Coming out of halftime, he got under it a little bit. I heard an interview in the locker room with the player from Notre Dame who ran back that kickoff for a touchdown, Jaden Harrison, and they asked him, hey, did you expect to get an opportunity to return a kick? He said no. And when I saw that ball was short, there was no way that I was not going to run it out. He goes, my eyes lit up because this kid's automatic. So he essentially was saying, we were just expecting to have touchbacks the entire game. He got one opportunity. There was a couple missed tackles. He did a hell of a job breaking it for 96. So again, an unforced error, a special teams disaster, a special teams touchdown that you let up. And then it was just such a tough and tall hill to climb for Georgia. Trevor Etienne, he fumbles it deep into the red zone on one of Georgia's first drives. They lose the ball at about the 10-yard line when it looked like they were about to go up 7-0. And then Gunnar Stockton makes a hell of a throw to Arian Smith down the right sideline. Arian Smith goes running. He's going to be inside the 10-yard line or so, and a flag comes out for sideline interference. First off, this is one of the most bullshit calls I've ever seen, okay? Everybody who's ever played the game knows that you usually get a warning first. This poor kid, Parker Jones, I mean, it could have been anybody. Could have been a coach. Could have been a starter. Could have been an athletic trainer. It was a guy who's on the team, a walk-on, albeit. Of course, he's there because the entire team gets to go to the bowl games. That's the celebration of having a successful season. He's amped up. He's fired up. He is barely in the white. Like his toe is in the white. And if you look at the pictures, Jake, this referee is running in a squiggly line. Sometimes his body is entirely on the opposite side of the white, clearly in Georgia's sideline. He gets a little contact. Arian Smith's down on a 10-yard line or so. He throws a 15-yard penalty for sideline infraction on Georgia. It sets Georgia back an additional 15 yards. They only had to settle for 3 points. So I just want to say this. One, horrible call by that referee. Your feelings were hurt and you threw a flag. It should have been a warning. And two, Georgia still had good field position. They weren't able to capitalize with a touchdown, but they did get 3 points.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Like just plenty of examples of shooting themselves in the foot, lost the turnover battle. They were 2 of 12 on third down, 0 for 3 on fourth down.
Tough. And two, I think, just 4th and 1s.
It's just, and then we give them, an extra set of downs, move the chains on that kind of
we'll talk about
punt
that.
transition,
Yes.
4th down. So plenty of times in the game where you just shot yourself in the foot, and you're not going to beat good teams when you do that. Man, then again, I said it earlier. I think Gunnar played great. I don't think he is the sole reason of losing this game at all. Not at all, man. I mean, honestly, I was like, he was playing unconscious. It's like, hey, no matter what's happening, I'm going out and I'm throwing this football. I mean, he was throwing seeds, and so, man, really happy to see him get thrown into this role, have some success. And I think there's a lot to feel confident about going in to the offseason of this guy being the future starter for the Dogs moving forward.
He's going to have a great chance. Again, he was 20 of 32 for 234 yards and a touchdown. Dylan Bell drops that wide open dime of a pass that Gunnar chucked him. Had to be close to 60 yards in the air, right on his face mask. Dylan Bell drops it. Georgia drives down. They end up capitalizing on that drive with that kind of rail route to Cash Jones up the sideline, which I was shocked. Notre Dame, I mean, whenever Cash is in the game, it's going to be a pass. Great scheme. Cash is open. He makes a great catch, and Gunnar gets his first touchdown. But I do want to go to really the thing that shocked me the most, and that was Georgia's inability to run the football. They couldn't do it. The offensive line was getting bullied all game. Again, give Notre Dame their flowers. I mean, their front seven played their ass off. My boy Monroe Freeling on the left tackle spot
had a long day.
He had a long day. I was shocked that there wasn't a little bit more tight end help to maybe chip those DNs who were absolutely pinning their ears back and teeing off on him. And I want to go to one specific series, Jake, that I look back on, and for whatever reason, the media is not discussing it at all because they're going directly to, of course, the sack fumble that led to Notre Dame's touchdown right before halftime. Georgia received the ball The game was tied 3-3 with 3 minutes and 32 seconds left in the first half. Okay. They got the ball on the 14-yard line. Notre Dame had just punted back to Georgia after a 3-and-out. Game's tied 3-3, 3.5 minutes left in the first half. You're on your own 14-yard line. Now, I'm thinking 4-minute offense. Okay. Let's see if we can get downfield, maybe get into field goal range, burn some clock off, then maybe the number one most important thing, and go into halftime with an extremely manageable second half on our hands. Okay. Notre Dame is getting the ball after halftime. Georgia decides to throw 3 passes, which are 3 straight incompletions, burns 27 seconds off the clock. They punt back to Notre Dame. 27 seconds off the clock, 3.5 minutes left in the first half. Why would you not try to run the ball, move the clock a little bit, burn the clock so Notre Dame doesn't have the opportunity to just get the ball back, drive down, get some points? And then, of course, it gets exacerbated by what happens next. But, Jake, 3 minutes and 32 seconds left. I'm just thinking, how on earth could you go for 3 incompletions and only take 27 seconds off the clock?
So I do not know for 100%, but I am 99% certain. The kind of what this was about was the kind of the theme and the messaging that Kirby's giving his team is that, hey, we're going to go out and be aggressive. Just because we have a backup, just because we have a backup quarterback in does not matter. Hey, we are going to go and be aggressive. So in that situation, he's saying, how can I tell Bobo to call kind of a dip toe, hey, let's 4-minute kind of run the ball offense here, and I'm not living up to my word. These guys, I'm about to have to go in there at halftime, and they're going to look me in the eye, and they're like, you told us we're going to be aggressive. Why didn't we try to be aggressive? And so to me, that's kind of what I feel happened there in that situation. And then when they got the ball back, they're like, man, let's try to steal some points right here. We got the timeouts, and that's just not what happened. Obviously,
it's definitely not what happened.
You know,
so they punted the ball after that 27-second 3-play disaster of a scenario of a series. Notre Dame then goes 10 plays, burns off 2 minutes and 28 seconds to go up 6-3. Hey, defense, bend not break. Okay, they got 3. There's 30 seconds left in the half, Jake. Georgia, 39 seconds left in the half. 33 seconds left in the half. Gunnar Stockton drops back, empty drop, winds up. Monroe Freeling, no help from a chip tight end block on the outside. Sack fumble. First play of that last drive in the first half. Notre Dame falls on it. Very next play, they score a touchdown. It's 13-3 going into half.
Coach, that's just, man, that's ball. That's,
and Kirby owned it after the game. He said, I was trying to be aggressive. And then he also kind of threw Monroe Freeling under the bus. He goes, I didn't think we'd get beat that quick at left tackle, but them's the breaks. I mean, that's what happened. And of course, speak to that as a quarterback, like Gunnar Stockton has no idea that it's going to be a bang, bang play like that. He's trying to get the ball out as fast as he can.
No, man, you're trying to make something happen, make something shake. That's your blind side. That's why, your best offensive lineman goes there at left tackle to protect that blind side. You can't see it, can't feel it. Obviously, Gunnar hasn't taken really any meaningful live reps in a long time, man. Having that pocket presence is a big deal. Now, there wasn't much he could do regardless there in that situation, no matter who's playing quarterback. The only person, that could have gotten out of that one would have been Jalen Milroe, just how freaky athletic he. But I say that to say, hey, Kirby was trying to be aggressive, and man, one of the few times it comes back, it backfires, and you just found yourself dug in a hole. And then you go and start off the second half by having a massive loss on special teams and losing that rep. So there's just so many things that built up in this game. It's a big hill. It's just tough to climb, man. And to dig yourself out of that hole it's just tough against a very, very good, very talented, very physical, well-coached opponent.
Yeah, so this leads me to 2 things, which is really eye-opening to take a look at the end of the season. You're asking yourself, well, why didn't Georgia run the ball? Why couldn't Georgia run the ball? Clearly, Notre Dame sold out to stop the run, and they were highly effective at that. Georgia finished the 2024 season 102nd nationally in rushing yards per game. 102nd in the nation in rushing yards per game. For comparison, they were 19th in the nation in 2022. They were 21st in the nation in 2023. Georgia was 85th nationally in yards per carry. They were 5th nationally in 2022. They were 11th nationally in 2023. Georgia was 29th in scoring offense nationally. They were 4th in 2022. They were 5th in the nation in 2023. And Georgia led the nation in dropped passes in 2024. Can't run the ball, dropping passes. Your quarterback got hurt. It was tough sledding against Notre Dame, and the Irish capitalized in a big, big way.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not as efficient as you want to be on offense, man. Like, that's just a lot to kind of debrief, go back, look on, hey, what did we do well? What did we not do well? And I think it's kind of an identity thing. This is just me generally speaking anecdotally about what I've witnessed over the years. Usually offensive lines are either really good at pass protecting or really good at run blocking. And there are very few offensive line units that are very good at both. And so you kind of hang your hat on one or the other. Obviously they picked throwing the ball, and the proof is in the pudding, obviously, in that. But man, to play that big boy physical bully ball, you have to be able to run the ball and set the tone, and then win it late in games in a 4-minute situation. And I never really could see that very much and have a whole lot of evidence with that throughout this entire football season.
No, you're totally right. Again, that's an alarming statistic. And to your point about being able to put a game away, running it when the defense knows you're going to run it, but just making that willpower happen. That's exactly what Notre Dame did to Georgia. And I was dead wrong on my prognostication, thinking Notre Dame would have a tough time doing that to Georgia, out Georgia-ing Georgia. But Notre Dame's last drive, 12 plays, 41 yards, 7 minutes and 36 seconds off the clock, of course, which was spurned by the offside by Jalen Walker, Buckus Award winner, All-American, on the 11-man substitution when it was 4th and short. Notre Dame went out there, showed their punt team, subbed all 11 guys off the field. Of course, Georgia then wants to sub their defense on. They're allowed to do so, so they're at the standing over the ball. And then, of course, it becomes like a quick snap scenario. Are they going to snap it? Are they not going to snap it? Are they going to do a hard count and try to get Georgia to jump offside? If you watch the replay, Notre Dame's wide receiver on the far right clearly false starts.
Clearly.
I don't know how it did not get called. Of course, doesn't matter now. Jalen Walker jumps. They snap the ball. They get a free play. It's a first down. Yes, the wide receiver flinched. Should have been a false start. Whatever. That's a conversation for another day. During the game, you could see Kirby Smart saying that's not allowed. That's not allowed. You can't take 11 off and put 11 on. That's not allowed. This was highly skilled gamesmanship by Notre Dame. The rule states it's not allowed to sub 11 people off the field when the ball is in play. If you watch the replay, Jake, the long snapper from Notre Dame never crouches down and never touches the football. He's standing over it like this, kind of in a squatted stance, never touches the football. They look over, they run all 11 guys off the field. Therefore, it was allowed because the ball was never technically in play. Kirby Smart talked about it after the game. He said, hey, I've talked with SEC officials about this. They said it's not allowed to happen. And it's not so long as the ball is in play and a player touches the football. So, again, big-time heads-up play by Notre Dame. They got Georgia to jump off sides. They capitalized on it, burned off a ton of clock, and that was the drive that put the game away and really, gave that boa constrictor feel that Georgia's so used to giving their opponents.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, crazy play. Obviously, it's not something that you see every single Saturday. I mean, that is one of those very obscure moments in the rules, and being able to use it in a very crunch time situation kind of reminds me of that Ohio State Oregon game earlier in the season when Dan Lanning kind of threw an extra player out there on the field. Man, it's just, hey, using the rule book to your advantage. I didn't know that existed. To me, I'm thinking here, I know it's a hectic situation. You're trying to get your defensive personnel back on the field, but man, take all day.
Yeah, you
Like
got
we
all the time you
saw
want.
in the
Yeah.
South Carolina Illinois game. Just take all day subbing guys back on the field. Let those guys eat a delay a game because they're trying to do something stupid and
Yep.
show you up. So that's kind of where I was at. But obviously, there's a lot going on in the field, and it's a fourth and short situation, and you want to make sure you got some dudes up there up front so they don't get a free one. So I get it; it's tough, but just I hate losing in those critical crunch time situations.
I know Notre Dame left no stone unturned. I mean, they clearly dominated the kicking game. I found it very interesting that Marcus Freeman continued to say this is going to be a 60-plus minute game, 60-plus minute game. Like he had delivered that message to his team consistently that these guys are not going away. It does not matter how big our lead is, which kind of brings me to the last statistic I want to bring up, Jake. Then we're going to move on, talk about a little bit more of the general tunes and feelings of the college football playoff as it stands right now. And then next episode next week, kind of when the dust settles a little bit more, I want to do like what do you think is going to happen in the offseason around Georgia more specifically. But during the broadcast, they kept saying, hey, Georgia's been in this spot. They've been in this spot all season. They were down 9 times during the season at halftime. They won 7 of those games. Giddy up for this statistic. Georgia's 2024 first half points: 6 points against Clemson, 3 points against Kentucky, 7 points against Alabama, 6 points against Florida, 7 points against Ole Miss, 0 points against Georgia Tech, 3 points against Texas in the SEC championship game, and 3 points in the first half against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. That is 35 combined first half points in 8 games this season. In those first 7 games, Georgia scored 136 points in the second half. Starting off slow like that, having to always work yourself out of those deep holes against really good opponents is not generally good if you want to win a lot of football games. Jake, 35 total first half points in 8 games. That is a tough pill to swallow.
That is incredible to me. I'm glad you brought that information up. I mean, that is huge, man. Getting off to a fast start is what is said
or just an average start.
Just is what is said every single week in the pre-night meetings before a game. Hey, we got to start fast. We need touchdowns in the red zone. We need this. We need that. And man, to see that happen week in and week out of not having any success really in the first half at all, man, that's just not a championship winning recipe.
So think about this. The 2 games in which they scored a touchdown in the first half against higher caliber opponents, Alabama, they had 7 points, and Ole Miss, they had 7 points. They lost both those games. Think about that. Then, of course, they lost Notre Dame by only scoring 3 points. But I saw that, and my eyes lit up. You're like, whoa, that is not good. You've got to get off to a better start, a fast start, an average start to just keep yourself in the ball game. And again, going back to a little bit of my prediction leading into this, I thought the break would help Georgia in a big way. One, you get Gunnar Stockton a bunch of reps. You get him comfortable with the game plan. You kind of get the guys to rally around him with 3.5 weeks between the SEC championship and the Sugar Bowl. 2, hell, they were banged up. They just needed to get healthy. I thought Georgia was the one team that would take advantage of the bye week of the rest. But the theme of the college football playoff goes to show that all 4 conference champions who got a bye lost in their first game in the quarterfinal. Arizona State lost, Boise State lost, Oregon lost, and Georgia lost. Conversely, teams seeded 9 through 12 got smoked in the first round. So the middle of the pack teams, I mean, I'm just saying that based on their seeding, seeds 5, 6, 7, 8, all move on to the playoff semifinals, which of course are the Orange Bowl, Penn State against Notre Dame, and the Cotton Bowl, Texas against Ohio State. So look, what's going to happen? I always thought a bye week could help, but if you have that momentum and you're playing well, having a team that played 10 days prior and kind of got those kinks out in those first round playoff games, it certainly proved to be an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the structure of it, let's not call it a bye week. It's not a bye week. It's a break. I mean,
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
it's an extended period of time. I'm a huge believer and advocate, man. When you get a bye week during a normal season, you get that extra week off. It is extremely helpful. Now, I'm not saying that the structure for college football playoff is wrong and we need to fix it. And I mean, to me, you look at Boise State, you look at Arizona State. I mean, I think they were good teams. I don't think they were great teams. And because of the structure that they got this break, this quote unquote bye week, I mean, to me, they met their match and they faced better opponents and they got beat. To me, there's nothing there. Now, when you look at Georgia and you look at Oregon, for Oregon's situation, I think they played the hottest football team in college
Ohio
football.
State's rolling, yeah.
And they had that week to get rolling by playing Tennessee and gaining some confidence by playing at home and beating the brakes off a good SEC team. And then on the flip side, it's hard to beat the same good team twice in a season. I hate it for Oregon and the luck of the draw that they got here. Would have loved to have seen them get Boise, and then maybe get Notre Dame and then see Ohio State later in the college football championship. But man, I as luck of the draw there, I think Georgia is a good football team. I think they are better than Notre Dame. I just don't think they play better.
Yeah,
I think it's just as simple as that. Yeah, I think it's just as simple as that.
I don't know if you saw what Nick Saban said on the Pat McAfee show today. It's Friday. He said, if I was an Oregon fan, I'd be pissed that our first game was against Ohio State. He goes, look, we go 13-0. We win our conference. We do everything right. And we have to go play the team that's playing the best football in the country right now. Like, that's just a tough draw. So how can you maybe fix that moving forward for the number one seeded team in a 12-team college football playoff? I don't know. Super tough draw, though. You said you didn't think Arizona State was a great team. I can tell you who is great, Cam Scattaboo. That kid is a freaking baller. He had an absolutely unbelievable game, just willing the Sun Devils back into it. Don't know what that non-targeting call was. I mean, that kept the game going. It was 4th and 13 or whatever it was. Oh, no, sorry. It led Texas to a 4th and 13. Texas had 4th and 13 to keep the game going, and Quinn Ewers threw that just amazing skinny post to an open receiver in the end zone. Texas ends up winning that game 39-31 in double overtime. Quick thoughts looking ahead at the semifinal games. I mean, Penn State, Notre Dame could be a bruiser. I think that could be a pretty interesting game. Of course, that's going to be Thursday, January 9th in the Orange Bowl. Notre Dame right now a 1.5-point favorite, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought Penn State would be favored in that matchup. And then on Friday night, 7:30 in the Cotton Bowl, Texas, Ohio State. Ohio State a 6-point favorite. Dude, they are playing some incredible ball. Will Howard, extremely confident. I got some news for Texas. They might want to think about guarding number 4, Jeremiah Smith, because he's a very good wide receiver. Oregon did not do that very well, and he went off for about $184 in the Rose Bowl. But look, 4 blue blood programs, 2 great jersey matchups. These should be pretty good games.
No, I mean, these should be really good games. I think as a fan of college football, you cannot be upset about the outcome of the college football playoff at all. I mean, I think these are great matchups. I think exactly what you said, Penn State and Notre Dame, that's going to be a bruiser. That's going to be a gritty, grinding football game. I think both those teams are really good. I think Penn State is a good football team, and if they can get their quarterback Drew Aller to play good ball, not saying he hasn't, but man, if he plays good ball, I think they are a very, very tough team to beat. Man, they got talent all over the field. Which Texas team shows up, man? If they get out to a slow start, man, Ohio State's going to keep rolling, man. Will Howard's playing great. I think he's playing with this new confidence. Just throw it, to Jeremiah, and all is well with the world. So
for sure. Tough look for the SEC, I guess. I mean, I got to bring up this article that I read from Nicole Auerbach over at NBC Sports today. It just made me shake my head. I'm like, are we seriously doing this? The title of the article is, as the college football playoff continues, it's no longer the mighty SEC and everybody else. The gap has closed. And she goes on to write this long diatribe how essentially the SEC's dominance is totally over, and how we need to look at them without the same deference that we have in the past, and how everybody is now equal. But it's capped off by this amazing sentence in the second to last paragraph. Quote, but even if Texas runs the table and wins the national championship, the damage has been done. The narrative has changed and the sport has shifted. We no longer need to default to deference when it comes to the SEC based on decades of prior success. We can and should evaluate these teams as they are now, warts and all. So she's literally saying, even if the SEC wins the national championship this year, the game has changed and the SEC is no longer dominant. So I guess 18 years with 16 national champions and an ungodly amount of NFL talent put into the league, it's over, Jake. I'm sorry to report the SEC's run is it's done, according to NBC Sports' Nicole Auerbach, who, if I might say, is one of the more self-righteous and pompous college football quote-unquote reporters that are out there. So hat tip to her.
Man, I like it. According to NBC, obviously the SEC is dead. Don't buy this for 1 second. I mean, at the end of the day, the players are still a majority of the players are still born and bred here in the South, man.
Yeah.
The South plays better high school football. There's better coaching. There's better players here in the South. And, man, they're going to continue to go to SEC schools. They love it. They grew up watching it. It means more in the South. I get it. It's, it's a quote. I get it. But, man, it is real. People love their college football here in the South. Yes. And I promise you, it is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I need her to explain to me how in the ACC championship they had to tarp off the third level of Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, or in Indianapolis when they're literally giving away tickets to get people inside the stadium to watch Penn State and Oregon play, or in Dallas at the Big 12 championship when half the damn stadium is empty. I mean, I just don't get it. The anti-SEC media, it's like biting off your nose to spite your face. I just don't get it, people. It is clearly, and it will continue to be, the class of college football. I will say, though, and I think this is common knowledge at this point, the parity has come from, yes, the transfer portal and NIL, because you're 2 and 3 deep who were formerly waiting their turn at SEC schools. They've gone elsewhere. They're going to find 100%. Opportunity. So they're playing at other schools, which of course has elevated a lot of other programs. So I'll wait to give my SEC is dead obituary until I guess Texas is officially knocked out. But surely, she just said it. Even if Texas wins the national championship, the SEC is dead. Now I kind of hope Texas does win, because I need to go back to her and be like, would you like to revise what you said? I'm a little bit confused at what you're getting at, but we'll see. Texas, Ohio State, going to be a good game. Penn State, Notre Dame, going to be a good game. We'll, of course, be able to dive into that next week.
Yeah, man, those are going to be some great matchups. Cannot wait to watch it, man. And I think you cannot be upset about how this college football playoff has turned out, man. It's given opportunities for other schools, man, to have their shot. They get into the dance. They go play good football. Ohio State, man, and they could ultimately be the best team in college football. They are coming from the 8th seed. So it's going to be fun to watch, fun to keep up with. And it's just giving teams more opportunities to prove themselves later into the season.
And I also love how she refers to Alabama losing the ReliaQuest Bowl when Michigan had a bunch of their top players set out. Yes, let's do that. Let's judge Alabama, who's been the biggest dynasty this sport has ever seen, on the freaking 2025 ReliaQuest Bowl performance. That is comedy in and of itself. However, did you see the clip that went viral, Jake, of Jalen Milroe potentially tipping off his plays? I wish, Spencer, I should have pulled this up. I'm sorry. This is my fault to our YouTube viewers. But there was a viral TikTok video that somebody pulled up, and they're replaying all of the plays, most of the plays from the ReliaQuest Bowl. Jalen Milroe, 99% of the times in the shotgun. When his feet are staggered, so right foot in front of left foot, it's a pass play. When his feet are level, shoulder width apart, it's a run play. It's crazy.
No way.
He's going over. He's like, watch this. Staggered feet, pass play. Balanced feet, run play. Staggered feet, pass play. And he was like, does anybody else see this? I mean, I have a very hard time believing that Alabama's coaching staff would not have caught on to that, Jake.
Oh, man, I've always kind of put hey, if I was a head coach coaching hat on sometimes, right, I would always have that person that worked, for the offense or for the defense to work in the opponent scouting department, basically to say, hey, pretend you're playing us on our offense or our defense and tell me what you see from an objective eye and lens, right? And exactly that, man. Like that could have slipped by their eye because they're so worried about scheme and about this and about that. But sometimes you got to take a step back, self-evaluate, and try to see it from a different lens. Because if you don't, man, stuff like that happens. And week 14, 15 of the college football season, and you're playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl against Michigan, and you're getting your brains beat in because you have the most simple tell in the entire world, and you have not fixed it or even known that it exists, which is absolutely crazy to me.
It's crazy. Wink Martindale, Michigan's defensive coordinator, longtime NFL guy. Like that's a person who would see that within the first 25 minutes of watching tape, if that, of course, was to be true. Producer Spencer chiming in here talking about states that have produced the most NFL players just this season. Texas, 190. Florida, 176. California, 168. And Georgia, 148 players in the NFL. So, look, South reigns supreme when it comes to college football. There is no doubt about it. Anything else I missed, Jake?
No, man, I think we hit it pretty good. Yeah, that dude, I think we hit it pretty good. That's all I got for you, Coach.
I think we hit it pretty good too. I'm trying to look at maybe some of these other games that have happened, but obviously the college football playoff is what is most important. So Georgia goes down, season's over. Notre Dame beats them 23-10. The college football playoff semifinal games are set. Your Cotton Bowl, Texas, Ohio State. Your Orange Bowl, Notre Dame, Penn State. Be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Punt and Pass on X and Instagram. I'm at Drew Butler. He's at Fromm Jake. Huge shout out to our partners, Prize Picks, for presenting this episode to all of our awesome listeners. Again, get into your app. There's a free $25 play in there. I think it's good until Sunday or Monday, January 5th or 6th. They're giving out boosts. They're giving out flexes. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports platform in the country. If you don't have it yet, download it right now. Promo code PUNT. When you play your first $5 entry, you get $50 instantly into your account, win or lose. Tell a family member. Tell a friend. Jake, anything on the way out, brother?
Man, I'm just sitting here thinking I feel so bad for the Oregon Ducks right now, Coach Dan Lanning. And I'm looking at kind of the quick stats from this game. They had negative 23 rushing yards.
Damn.
For the whole
Ohio
game.
State woke up. So I heard this too, because you just brought, whenever I say you got anything left, this is what I love. This is what I love. I appreciate this. Somebody compared, obviously Notre Dame turned it on big time after they lost to Northern Illinois in week 2. Their average point differential per game is almost 24 points, I think, on an 11-game stretch. I mean, they are on a serious tear. Could the Michigan loss for Ohio State been what Notre Dame's loss to Northern Illinois was? Just totally, revitalized the team, kind of brought them all together. They could either go in one or two directions. They obviously chose to go up, and it certainly is showing that way on the field of play.
Yeah, I think I've heard Saban say this, man. Like, good teams can get better and learn even from their close wins.
Yeah.
But man, sometimes you need a good timely loss to kind of get you going and light a fire. And it looks like a fire has been lit under the rear ends of the Ohio State football team because they are on a tear.
So it brings up one more point, because you said it. Conference champs did not get a bye week. They got a break. Ohio State got a bye week by not having to play in their conference championship game. Notre Dame got a bye week by not having to play in a conference championship game. And then they went into the first round. So I think you're onto something there, Jake.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see if proof's in the pudding.
All right.
Obviously, you need a little bit more data going forward. But man, maybe in 2028, we'll be sitting here talking about this on the Punt Pass podcast about how we're already calling it out.
Listen, I don't need more data. It is what is said is what it is. I guess that's what it is. So there you go, man. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a great and safe weekend. Happy 2025. It's New Year's. Didn't say anybody to that yet. So have a healthy weekend, and we will talk to you next week. See ya.
We out.